Every day that goes by is becoming a decryption for me of something I left myself through time. And what this is doing is it's awakening me to the nature of my multidimensional self. So I think this is what the actual reference to the sarcophagus in the king's chamber is actually all about, which is actually, it's supposed to be the reference, I believe, to the killing of Osiris by his brother Set, and he goes into a coffin, and the sarcophagus is representation of that coffin. And then you have a spiritual rebirth coming out of that. And the spiritual rebirth not only is a spiritual awakening, but it's also an awakening into the multidimensional aspect of yourself through time. So the veil gets, thinner and thinner and thinner, so that you could start to experience that, wait a minute, I'm living in all these different time dimensions simultaneously. And until now, I've been disconnected from them, but now I can actually connect into them. And it's not just the time dimensions of myself in other timelines, like in other past life incarnations, but it's actually the time dimensions of myself that are still happening simultaneous to now, of me at different ages in my life. Right? So I don't think that there's a multiverse from the perspective that there's a different universe for every decision point I make or I don't make. I don't believe that. I believe that everything is preset. Like in the context of where you have to realize that we're dimensionally limited avatars that are put here by our higher self to experience emotional states. And each one of the experiences that we have are entirely unique, because even though they might have signatures of the same sort of lessons in them, you can never step in the same river twice. Right? I mean, where you put your foot or your ankle gets wet, it's not the same water now that it was 10 seconds ago. So the river's changed. And all the information in that river is also changed during that time period. So I see it as the same thing for us. Time is like a river, and the river is round. And it's a Mobius that basically reverts back on itself. And I fundamentally believe that, and I'm going to share some of the stuff with you, because some of it's like super, super recent. So, the stuff I got on this trip to Peru, which was incredibly a phenomenal trip. But in addition to that, even coming back from that trip, it has unlocked and awakened new aspects in myself that I wasn't formerly aware of. And I just decrypted another major decryption of Leonardo da Vinci's work yesterday that nobody's, essentially seen yet. I haven't even put it on social media at all yet, because I'm trying to figure out how best to, it's like there's the download, and then there's the how do I basically communicate this?
Yeah, the marketing aspect.
It's going to take me a while, so I can learn how to get past, the algorithms, right? Because that's what's happening. We're really waking up to this extra dimensional aspect of ourselves, and it's happening all around the world. It's all happening at the same time.
I want to start with a really interesting concept that you actually present at the beginning of Time Loops, which is this idea that often prophecies are, you get some sort of message. That message actually causes you to react in a certain way to the message that then manifests or causes the actual prophecy to come to fruition. And the traditional example of this might be Oedipus. How do you explain that? What sort of model do you apply to that?
If it works the way I think it works, and I think that various trends in science are converging, I think, on an actual physical explanation for how it works. If it works that way, prophecies have to be self-fulfilling. Now, what does that mean? Events in the future are, in a sense, fixed, in the same way events in the past are fixed. Now, if that's the case, any kind of time travel, and precognition is really a form of time travel, it's a form of informational time travel, cannot change history. Okay, this is a misconception. People people somehow they think about precognition or they think about time travel. They think, but wait, you could go into the past and change history and kill your grandfather, and so you wouldn't, you couldn't be born and all that. Grandfather paradox type stuff. That's it's kind of faulty reasoning, and in fact, physicists in the 80s kind of did the math. I mean, they got interested in wormholes and things like that, and they did the math. And found that no, in fact, if you send a particle through a wormhole or a billiard ball through a wormhole and try to deflect it away from the wormhole, it fails. You're always going to deflect yourself into the wormhole, and you're always going to be in what's called a closed time-light curve or a time loop. It means that the universe is self-consistent. It means paradox doesn't occur, and that's the definition of paradox: something that can't occur. So any intervention in time, any backward influence via information alone or via physical objects traveling through a wormhole or a time machine or something like that, that adventure in the past, whatever it is already part of the backstory of getting in the time machine in the future. And there's really no problem. There's really no problem with time travel or with information traveling in time. It doesn't lead to paradox. You just have to wrap your head around the idea that you now are the product of time traveling information already, and maybe time travelers. Your history, your past history includes, all that time traveling, either physical time traveling of advanced beings or, and at the very least, information in your head that's traveled back in time from your future. You now are the product of information refluxing from your future and influencing your past and influencing your present. That's why we can say that prophecy is always self-fulfilling. Now, that doesn't mean it in a simplistic way that you have a dream and things are going to turn out exactly the way you dreamed it. There are all kinds of reasons why we don't interpret prophecies accurately. There's all kinds of reasons why the brain distorts information coming from our future. I think one of the basic things that we're precognizing is our survival. And so we're in a sort of time loop relationship to our future surviving self.
How should I say? The Heaviside version of Maxwell's equations coupled with a simple harmonic oscillator gives the Pais effect. Of course, not taking into consideration the cold plasma, the non-equilibrium effects, and so forth. That's a whole different matter, the whole idea of breaking the Schwinger limit. But someone would have realized that such electromagnetic energy fluxes of such high intensity are feasible at that time. And quite possibly because there were such great engineers. I mean, these were times that gave rise to people like Nikola Tesla. They were most likely, they questioned. These were great engineers, man. And I truly believe that at that point in time, it's as if there was a timeline shift. It's as if quantum mechanics took over the minds of everyone. And instead of following, say, Maxwellian and Einsteinian physics on one path, everybody just went for the quantum mechanics way.
So are you saying that we can amplify energy? Do you believe that that's possible? That we can just take energy in a circuit and amplify it using, say, like parametric oscillations?
Resonance effects. Absolutely. Look carefully at one particular paper, IEEE plasma. It's published in IEEE Transactions on Plasma Science. The title of the paper is The Plasma Compression Fusion Device. It's the one paper that was truly accepted by one of the most prestigious journals in existence on plasma physics. This is IEEE TPS that accepted this. And it's being cited by very high level Chinese research teams. One of them actually IEEE Journal of Cybernetics. You have to ask yourself why. It's very interesting, but look very careful in that paper, equations 5 and 6. There's one particular equation that speaks to a resonance effect that from that based on certain frequencies, based on certain conditions, you can have energy, great energy amplification started from modest power levels. Let's leave it at that.